obviously the White House wants schools to be open and been encouraging schools to open.
Yeah.
Many schools are fully open. But inside schools, there are often very strict rules. For example, sometimes students are required to eat outside or eat distant from each other, not talk to each other while they're eating. Does the White House want to see those rules lifted as well to get back to a more normal school experience?
Well, schools are taking steps, especially since we've only recently approved through the CDC and FDA vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds. They're not approved for kids younger than that, to keep their kids safe and keep students safe. I will tell you, I have a 3-year-old who goes to school, sits outside for snacks and lunch, wears a mask inside, and it's no big deal to him. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but these are steps that schools are taking to keep kids safe. And I think the vast majority of parents appreciate that.
The approval numbers sure don't look like parents appreciate that. Joining me now, my friend Charles Love, of course, of the Great Charles Love Show, and author of the book you should probably be buying right now. The book is called Race Crazy. Charles, honestly, I know this may sound a little bit over the top, but when I see videos of kids, I think there was one out of Portland last week, kids sitting outside in 40-degree weather, 20 feet away from other kids, eating lunch on buckets. I'm sorry, Charles, I compare that to Taliban. I do. That is national approved levels of child abuse. There's not another way to put that. What happened to us?
Well, I'm fortunate to have been up here on your show before, so people know that I'm usually pretty measured. So they can't say this is the norm. But that was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen. I am pissed off. That is stupid. And the fact that she's going to say, well, my kid does it, so you should suck it up. I can't believe it. The only silver lining to this, because I try to bring some positives, is, I was talking to some parents, and you can't really sway the mandate morons. That's what I call them. They'll be like, I'm against guns, but if we got to shoot these people that disagree with us, shoot them. They're lost. So you can't get past the mandate morons. But to the normal parents, you have to move beyond just COVID to get them to understand. So I'm talking to a group of parents, and I say, the bigger problem with this is, well, they're first graders. I have a first grader, and I'm like, when my kids started school in kindergarten, so this is a year, almost 2 school years, and he has nothing to compare to. You can go to your 5th grader and say, ask the pertinent questions. What was it like 2 years ago? How's it changed? This is all they know. So they think it's the norm, and we have never stepped foot inside the school. For all I know, they're chaining my kid to a desk. Or maybe there are no desks. And to sit outside, and they're wearing masks. Forget about talking. They're wearing masks while they sit outside in 40-degree weather because they're following the science. This is complete madness. And it needs to stop. And it won't stop until those parents who understand it's bad, not the mandate morons, but speak up, because they're like, they agree. They'll whisper to you that it's bad. But then they're like, oh, well, that's what they say. No, that's not okay. It's terrible.
Charles, people talk all the time about the divide here and the divide there, and there's a divide between this class or this people or this religion, whatever the case may be. But I sit back because I don't generally get involved in that much, and I see a very clear divide in this country between rural Americans and Americans who live in these big cities or just the immediate area surrounding these big cities. The difference between how they've lived their lives and what they believe for the past couple years versus how I have out in Texas suburbia is drastic, Charles. We occupy 2 totally different worlds with 2 totally different value systems, and that is not healthy.
No, I've been saying this from the beginning. One of the biggest fallacies wherever you fall on COVID was, remember the refrain we had, we're all in this together. From the beginning, I'm like, what do you mean we're all in this together? I talked to my family in Northwest Indiana, and my brother would be like, what do you mean shutdowns? I don't understand what you're talking about. No, we closed for like 2 days. No, we closed 2 days. But no, restaurants are open. He's like, right now, I'm on the phone with my brother. He's like, right now, this was, March, April of 2020. He's like, there's guys out here playing skins versus shirts 5-on-5 basketball. While in New York, they put chains on the parks. So we weren't in this together, So, it's not even just rural. It's based on your beliefs on freedom. It truly is. I mean, if you think that liberty is important and an integral part of this country, you try to do as much as you can to contain COVID and protect people without locking people in the house. The mandate morons just said we should wear 3 masks, take vaccination, and then never leave the house. That's your divide.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.